There are motorcycles born to be fast, and there are others born to command respect. The Kawasaki Z1000 belongs to that latter category. With an aggressive design, an unmistakable roar, and an engine that seemed to want to rip your arms off with every acceleration, it became the dream of an entire generation. But how did a Japanese naked bike end up transforming into one of the most feared and admired icons of motorcycling? Today, we are going to relive the history of the Kawasaki Z1000, the green beast that turned the street into its territory. To understand the history of the Kawasaki Z1000, first we have to travel back to the early 70s, a time when the Japanese industry was experiencing an authentic revolution. Motorcycles were ceasing to be simple means of transportation to become high-performance machines. Honda has surprised the world with the CB750 in 1969, considered by many to be the first modern superbike. Suddenly, speed, power, and technology became the new battlefield among Japanese manufacturers. Kawasaki was not willing to be left behind. The brand had been secretly developing a project for years capable of surpassing any rival of the time. The result was the Kawasaki Z900, introduced in 1972, equipped with an inline four-cylinder engine, double overhead camshafts, and nearly 82 horsepower. The Z1 immediately became one of the fastest and most advanced motorcycles on the planet. The success of the Z1 triggered a real war among Japanese brands. Honda, Suzuki, Yamaha, and Kawasaki began a race to manufacture the fastest, most powerful, and most sophisticated motorcycle on the market. Each new model surpassed the previous one in displacement, performance, and technology. But Kawasaki wanted to go even further. Their engineers knew that the Z1 had raised the bar, but they also understood that the competition wouldn't take long to catch up. That's why they began the development of an even more powerful, refined, and stable evolution. The goal wasn't just to increase displacement, but to improve dynamic handling, reliability, and the ability to withstand increasingly higher speeds. Without knowing it, Kawasaki was giving rise to one of the most important sagas in the entire history of motorcycling. What began with the iconic 1972 Z1 would eventually evolve to become a legendary family of motorcycles, deeply admired by riders for over 5 decades. Its engine was increased to 1,015 cubic centimeters, delivering around 85 horsepower, making it one of the fastest production motorcycles in the world. It also incorporated improvements such as a rear disc brake, a new 4-into-2 exhaust system, and a reinforced chassis. It wasn't just a simple update. It was confirmation that Kawasaki wanted to continue leading the superbike war. A year later, the spectacular Z1-R arrived, a much sportier and more futuristic version. Its cafe racer-style aesthetic, integrated front fairing, and engine with nearly 90 horsepower made it one of the most striking Japanese motorcycles of the late 70s. In 1980, Kawasaki made history again with the Z1000J Classic, the first production motorcycle equipped with Bosch electronic fuel injection, a revolutionary technology that was decades ahead of many of its rivals. In 1982, Kawasaki introduced a motorcycle that is now one of the most sought after by collectors, the Kawasaki Z1000R Eddie Lawson replica, also known as the KZ1000R or simply the ELR. It was created to celebrate Eddie Lawson's AMA Superbike Championships and to bring some of that racing experience to a street-legal motorcycle. Based on the KZ1000J, the Z1000R incorporated specific upgrades for sportier use. Highlights included the famous 4-into-1 Kirker exhaust, a small bikini-style front fairing, Showa shock absorbers, an oil cooler, and ergonomics inspired by Lawson's race bike. All of this was dressed in the unmistakable Kawasaki lime green color, which would become an icon for the brand. Although it kept the robust four-cylinder engine of approximately 1,015 cubic centimeters, the real difference was in its dynamic handling. The chassis geometry was revised to improve high-speed stability and offer a feel much closer to a superbike. It wasn't the most comfortable for touring, but it was one of the most exciting sport bikes you could legally buy in those years. Paradoxically, in its early years, it wasn't a huge commercial success. Kawasaki manufactured few units and initial sales were modest. However, time completely changed its destiny. Today, the Z1000R Eddie Lawson replica is considered one of the most important Japanese motorcycles of the 80s, with enormous historical and economic value. Its influence was so great that it even inspired models decades later, like the Kawasaki ZX1100 and the ZX1200, designed as a tribute to that unforgettable mean green machine. After the success of the Z family in the 70s and early 80s, Kawasaki decided to change course. Starting in 1984, the Z1000 name disappeared from the catalogs, and the brand began to focus its resources on a new generation of fully fared sport motorcycles. It was the birth of the Ninja era, a concept that would forever transform Kawasaki's image and mark the future of Japanese superbikes. For nearly 2 decades, models like the GP-Z900R, ZX7R, ZX9R, and later the ZX10R became the brand's new flagships. Technology advanced at great speed, with more powerful engines, liquid cooling, better chassis, and aerodynamics inspired by racing. While the market fell in love with fared sport bikes, the legendary Z1000 remained silent, waiting for the right moment to return. At the beginning of the 2000s, the market began to change again. Many motorcyclists were looking for more comfortable machines with personality, without giving up the performance of a superbike. Kawasaki understood that the time had come to bring back one of its most famous model names. In 2003, Kawasaki surprised the world by reviving a legendary name, Z1000. But this time, it didn't return as a classic superbike, but as a sporty naked bike with a completely new personality. The brand understood that many motorcyclists wanted the performance of a sport bike without the fairing, and created an aggressive, muscular machine that was different from everything else on the market. Thus began the second life of the Z family. To develop this new generation, Kawasaki used the ZX9R engine as a base, increased its displacement to 953 cubic centimeters, and tuned it to deliver much more forceful power at low and mid-range RPMs. The result was a bike with explosive acceleration, an unmistakable sound, and an exciting ride, whether in the city or on twisty roads. It wasn't trying to be the fastest, but rather the one that would put the biggest smile on your face every time you twisted the throttle. Its design broke all the rules at the time. The huge fuel tank, the aggressive-looking dual headlights, and, above all, the truly spectacular 4x4 exhaust system with 4 distinct outlets, 2 on each side, made it absolutely unmistakable. It was a motorcycle that turned heads, even when it was just parked. Kawasaki wanted the Z1000 to convey power and rebellion from the very first glance, and it succeeded like few bikes of its generation. The market response was immediate. The Z1000 won over thousands of motorcyclists who were looking for a naked bike with superbike DNA and a unique character. Its combination of reliability, bold design, and an engine full of personality marked the definitive rebirth of the Z saga. From that moment on, the Z1000 returned to a privileged place in Kawasaki's catalog and began a new story that would make it one of the most famous and admired naked bikes in the world. In 2007, Kawasaki introduced the second generation of the Z1000 with significant improvements in every aspect. The engine received a new tune-up to offer more torque at low and mid-range RPMs, while the chassis was reinforced to improve stability. Its aesthetics also changed, with sharper lines and an even more muscular look. The Z1000 made it clear that it didn't intend to live off its name. It wanted to keep evolving. The true revolution finally arrived in 2010. Kawasaki completely redesigned the bike from the ground up, significantly increasing the displacement to 1,043 cubic centimeters. This massive update also saw them debut a brand new modern aluminum perimeter frame, which completely transformed the way the motorcycle handled on the road. The engine offered a much more forceful and linear response, while the suspension, brakes, and ergonomics were notably improved. It was a more refined, more powerful, and much more effective naked bike, ready to compete with the best in the segment. In 2014, the most famous generation of all appeared, inspired by the Japanese Sugomi philosophy, a concept that sought to convey the attitude of a predator ready to strike. Its ultra-low LED headlights, muscular tank, and aggressive stance gave it an unmistakable personality. In addition, power increased to 142 horsepower, accompanied by high-performance monoblock brakes and Showa suspension that raised its dynamic level even further. Over the following years, Kawasaki continued to refine the formula with versions like the Z1000R, equipped with Brembo brakes, Olin suspension, and more exclusive finishes. By then, the Z1000 was already considered one of the most desirable naked bikes in the world. This combination of radical design, reliability, sound, and character made it a benchmark in the segment, proving that you didn't need to be the most technologically advanced to win over thousands of motorcyclists. The Kawasaki Z1000 was never just a motorcycle. It was the dream of thousands of people who were looking for something more than just speed. From the legendary KZ1000 to the aggressive modern naked, it always kept the same spirit, making every ride feel unforgettable. It didn't need to follow trends, because from day one, it decided to create its own path. It saw generations of motorcyclists come and go, survive technological changes, and witnessed how the world of motorcycling evolved without stopping. While many motorcycles disappeared over time, the Z1000 found a way to be reborn again and again, proving that true legends never die. They simply wait for the perfect moment to roar again. It wasn't the most comfortable, nor the most practical, nor the most sophisticated, but every time its four-cylinder engine woke up, it reminded you why millions of people fell in love with it. Because the Z1000 never wanted to impress with numbers, it wanted a thrill. And that difference was what made it a motorcycle impossible to forget. Behind every Z1000 are stories of first rides, endless roads, friendships born on two wheels, and dreams that began with the simple turn of a key. No matter the year or the generation, they all shared the same heart and the same mission: to make the rider feel something that few machines can offer. Today, there are faster, lighter, and much more technological motorcycles, but very few manage to make you stop for a few seconds just to look at them before turning off the engine. Very few manage to quicken your pulse, even while parked. That is the magic of the Z1000. It's not just ridden, it's lived, remembered, and carried in your memory forever. Because in the end, some motorcycles become classics, others become collector's items. But the Kawasaki Z1000 became part of the lives of those who had the privilege of riding it. And as long as there's a road to travel and a four-cylinder engine ready to roar, the legend of the Z1000 will keep reminding us that the best stories never truly come to an end. And if you want to learn about motorcycles from the 90s, click on this video.